I am someone who likes to declutter and organize my home seasonally, and I like to do it mostly in the spring, in the fall, and then right after Christmas. And this keeps me on top of the things that I need to go through and get rid of. I'm going through my plates and cups cupboard, and I already know that there's not much in here that I want to get rid of. It just needs a good wipe down. And there was also a little spider hiding in here. I've been on a minimalism journey for almost a year now, and I've taken several breaks in between decluttering sessions. But it surprised me this time how much I actually still feel like I need to go through and get rid of things. And I had thought that I was in a really good place until I started opening up cupboards that I don't always go in. And I was quite surprised with my feelings of not being where I thought I was. When I began this process, I was in a really bad place, and will just say that when I made YouTube videos, I would have to move a whole bunch of things around and pretty much clear out a space so that I could film in it. That's how bad it was. And I knew that something really drastic needed to change. Every single cupboard was packed full and ready to explode as soon as you opened the door. And my bed had things stuffed underneath it. My closet was completely packed, and it was just overfull, overstuffed. And I do have a minimalism journey playlist that you can look at and watch my whole decluttering process so far. And so anyways, today I am tackling some of the areas in my kitchen and living room. And this cupboard right here is not bad. It's full of a bunch of my cookbooks and just some basic baking equipment that I need. And these are not things I want to get rid of, because if I ever want to make a pie or a birthday cake, I will need those pans. But I'm going to take a look through these cookbooks and see if there's anything in here that I'm just not going to use. I am a book lover, and books are one of the things that I have a problem with. This is a light version of the amount of books that I used to have. I've been a collector of books, and specifically a collector of vintage cookbooks, homemaking books, and anything that interests me. However, it's become a bit of a problem because I don't have a dedicated library, and books can take up a lot of space. And so I've got here some books dedicated to the art of canning and pressure canning, dehydrating. Those are books that I definitely want to keep. I have some vintage cookbooks as well as some modern cookbooks, and the modern cookbooks I definitely use a lot less, and I mostly like to look at them for the pictures because I find them inspiring. Out of all of the things that I've decluttered in the past, the things that haunt me that I've gotten rid of are some of my vintage homemaking books, and as well as a vintage sewing book that was very special. And those are the things that I regret the absolute most. So I have to be really careful about really making sure that I'm ready to let go of something. The newer cookbooks don't really bother me that much because I know I can go find them at the library if I want to look through them. And I do go to the library quite a bit because I just love books. So I'm just going to keep what I really feel is still adding to my life, and I let go of a couple of them. I've included some footage in today's video of a nature trail that I've been walking regularly now that I have more time in my schedule. It's true that I considered myself a bit of a hoarder, and I've really worked on the emotional aspect of hanging on to things and why I hang on to things. And I've asked myself a lot of questions. I journaled, and that really helped to clarify a lot of my feelings towards stuff and buying and things. And I feel like I've really worked on myself over this past year, and I'm really happy with where I'm at. And my goal with minimalism was not to become a true minimalist where I own nothing, but rather it was to live in a comfortable, clean, and orderly space where everything has a home, and I feel like I'm not living with a bunch of clutter. And I feel like for the most part, I have achieved that. And my summer has been very comfortable and easy to maintain. But I do still have things in the home that are not being used. And so it's time to go through again and do another declutter. One of the areas that I struggle a lot is decorating. I really struggle with where to put things so that it doesn't look cluttered. And I find this part really hard. I enjoy cleaning, I enjoy moving things around, but my daughter is much better at decorating than I am. And this is an area that I don't feel very talented in. And as I moved things around in this video, I realized that it's easier to just get rid of things and not have anything on your shelves or cupboards, because then you have to know how to aesthetically place them so that they look good. And I'm just not good at that. I really enjoy having beautiful things that are functional. I don't like to have just decorative pieces that don't have a purpose. I prefer to have things that I use and that are functional, but I choose to buy the most beautiful version of that thing. And I think that that is a really wise thing to do, because then you don't need a lot of decorations. The things that you own are already beautiful. And this is why I really love vintage and antique items for this purpose. And you can't always get a very functional vintage or antique piece if it comes to cooking or certain things. Sometimes a newer item is a better choice in terms of not making yourself sick with toxic lead or things like that. But I really enjoy having minimal belongings, but finding beautiful and functional pieces. When I'm going through my home, one of the first things I look for is, am I using this item? And that could be clothing, that could be books, that could be anything in your home. If it's just sitting there and you are not using it, likely you're not going to use it. And I still have items like this in my home that I haven't gotten rid of. Some of them are oils that I planned on making beauty products with, and they were expensive, and I've had them for a few years, but I still haven't made those beauty products. And sometimes it can be really hard to let go of things that you bought that costed you a bit of money. These big jars here are one of those items. I store flour and oats in these jars, and if I had a big kitchen, I wouldn't mind keeping them. But because I just don't have a lot of counter space, I'm just questioning whether I want to keep them or whether it's better to just have the bags of oats and flour in my cupboard, stored away where I can't see it. And I did invest money in those jars. So I'm also wondering, is there another way that they can be used in the home? Maybe with laundry detergent or some other space. So I'm considering that. Thinking about other ways that you can use an object is a way to save yourself money, because if you don't throw it out, you might be able to reuse it in another area of your home. So that's always something to keep in mind. And then I've also got a lot of houseplants. And I love houseplants. I think they're beautiful. They add some green to your space. They liven things up, and they're very soothing and calming. But I also feel sometimes that too many houseplants can also become clutter. And that's something that I am thinking about as I'm dealing with the houseplants in this video. You know how when you go into a nice little boutique and things are decorated so nicely and so pleasingly, and you just wish that you could have that same look in your home. So you buy an item because it looked so beautiful in that store, and then you bring it home and it just doesn't have the same effect. I feel like that is something that I would like to learn the art of, is placing things in your home in such a way that it has that same effect as what it has when you go in those boutiques. And so that's something I would like to spend time learning. I really struggle with this fireplace mantle I have ever since we moved in. And I'm really happy to have the fireplace mantle. It's not a functional fireplace. And so we've placed our TV in front of the actual fire space because I still want the fireplace to be the central sort of location that we are surrounded by in our living room. However, having all of these plants on here feels cluttering to me. I'm removing them, and having them off of there immediately feels better. And so I am struggling with this. If you have some suggestions of any ideas for me, please let me know in the comments, because I could use all the help I can get. And if my daughter Tasha was here, she would know exactly what to do, but she is far away in Victoria on the island, and I don't have her here. So give me some comments and suggestions. Should I just take all of the plants off of this mantle and let it sit open? I'm not sure. This little bookshelf over here used to house all of my vintage collection, which I no longer have. I only kept a few of my most beautiful and important cookbooks. And so now I put baskets in there, and I really like the rustic sort of look of that. I really love these candle holders, and they're something that I don't plan on getting rid of. We use them all the time in fall and winter when it's dark. And I love beeswax candles in here. So I'm cleaning these out so that I can put some newly purchased beeswax candles in these candle holders. Now is a really good time to get doing these declutterings because as soon as Christmas decorations come out, the house can automatically feel cluttered. And I've had that experience where the house just feels so cluttered and you just can't wait for Christmas to be over to put it all away. And so I don't want to have that feeling. I want to have a fresh space once Christmas is upon us. And last year, I ended up getting rid of our fake tree that we had for several years. It was too big for our home. And we have a bunch of small little trees up on the property. So we just plan on going and cutting down our own trees. Another thing I wanted to touch on in this video was thrift shopping. Now, thrift shopping is something that I struggled with. I had an addiction and it was a problem. It was the reason why my home was so cluttered. And I have taken the entire summer off of going to the thrift store, and I think that I've definitely broken the habit. I prefer to not buy anything unless I actually need it. And I'm no longer looking to go buy pieces just for whatever reason. If I am looking for something, it's specific. Now, I have had to go back to the thrift stores recently because with the change in season, there are things that I need like coats and sweaters, and there are items that are home needs. And I don't think that it makes sense to completely stay away from thrift stores for the reason being that I can't afford to not shop at thrift stores. I can't afford to go buy everything new. My husband and I are really working on paying off debt right now for our business. And so I'm really trying to be frugal. And so I am still going to be going to thrift stores when I need to. And I think that that is okay. Putting these plants back on this mantle was a struggle, and this just doesn't come easy to me. I just don't know where to put anything, and I just consider getting rid of all of these plants. So it's not going to be perfect for a reveal at the end of this video. I'm just going through and seeing if there's anything that I'd like to get rid of. And quite honestly, I still have quite a bit of decluttering to do in certain closets and areas of my home. I've mentioned this in other recent videos, but one of the ways that I am finding contentment with what I own is by caring for the things that I already have. whether it's putting a new button on a sweater or shining up my copper, just really putting some love into the objects that I've already put so much time and energy to find. And I really feel like that is a good place to be. I've managed to get a box of goods that I can send off to the thrift store, and that always feels good. And I still have beautiful things that I love, like this lace runner for my table. I have some beautiful tablecloths. There are some real treasures that I have found that I love that I don't plan on getting rid of. So I really hope that you found this video encouraging and helpful, and hopefully you learned some tips or advice for your own decluttering and organizing season. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I share videos every single Wednesday, and I hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful day.